If you've been dreaming of leaving the UK to explore somewhere new, 2025 is your year to move to Australia. From breathtaking landscapes to exciting opportunities, this could be your chance to change your life. Hi, I'm Lottie. I'm half British and half Australian, and after years and years of wanting to move to Australia, we originally planned to in 2020, but that didn't happen. Me and my partner finally made the move out here in October last year to join my Aussie family here. After my previous video on Australia, which I made when I came over here, kind of blew up online, really unexpectedly, I thought,
you know what, why don't I make this into a series?
So this is going to be the first video in a series I am doing all about moving to Australia. And to kick off this new series, I thought I'd start my first video delving into 5 reasons why you need to move to Australia in 2025, exploring why it's the perfect time to do it and why you don't want to miss out. To start with the financial side of things. If you move from the UK to Australia in 2025, you can actually make yourself richer when you convert your English pounds to Australian dollars. And this is because the British pound is really strong against the Australian dollar at the moment. One of the issues with moving is that you often have to transfer large sums of money into the currency that you're moving to. So if you're moving from the UK or anywhere similar, you will have to convert some of your savings to the Australian dollar, either in advance or when you move out here. If you choose a time where the conversion rates are really poor, you can end up kind of losing a lot of money. So it's really important to move at a time when the conversion rate is as optimal as possible, just to maximize the money that you are getting on the other side after that transfer. So on the date of making this video, which is the 4th of January, as you can see, the ratio is pretty much £1 to 2 Australian dollars. 2.0020 to be exact, but this changes kind of throughout the day. It changes. Well, we're going to call it 2 for simplicity. I think the highest rate from memory was on the 31st of December. So that was around here. Yeah, where it hit about 2.02, the highest it had been the entire year. Versus the lowest rate, on the other hand, was probably about May, which was 1.86 maybe. 1.86, yeah. Lowest in May and July. Yeah. So this shows how the conversion that you can get from the pound to dollar can fluctuate a lot throughout the entire year. And it is particularly strong at the moment. It's dipped a tiny bit since the start of the year, but it is still, relatively speaking, really high. The highest it has been the entire year. And this means if you're thinking of moving to Australia and you're having to convert some of your savings, you can get a really good amount of Australian dollars currently for your pounds, and Australian dollars do go a little bit further, I found, in terms of the things you can buy. So it really does make you feel like you are richer here. And for argument's sake, if we look at the last 5 years, just to give you some perspective on how this changes, it is actually the highest it has currently been since 2020, which when the pandemic will have messed with the numbers. That was in March. That was literally when the pandemic was kicking off. So since basically COVID started, it is the highest it has been in the last 5 years, and it may keep going up, it may go down. Obviously I don't have a crystal ball, so I can't know the future, but in theory it is the best time since COVID to transfer your English pounds to dollars. So if you're coming over with £1,000, you can get exactly $2,000 for that currently. And on the other hand, to compare this to the lowest amount you could get in May when it was at its lowest rate, which was 1.87 or so, that would get you $1,870. So I know this is obviously comparing the highest high and the lowest low, but that difference is $130 per £1,000 you're transferring. If you're coming over with a ton of savings, you don't want to miss out in getting the best exchange rate and the most amount of dollars you could have gotten just by delaying it for a year. Point number 2, Australia's location. If you lived in the UK for a while and already travelled a lot of Asia, Coming to Australia gives you the perfect springboard to use to then venture off into a new area of the world. Due to Australia's position, it's actually quicker and easier to travel to some parts of Asia, primarily kind of Southeast Asia is a little bit closer, as well as Oceania. Some example destinations which may tempt you: Japan, which is about 10 hours to Tokyo from Sydney. Bali's only 6 hours away as well. The Philippines, it's 8.5 hours to travel to Manila. Fiji, it's 4 hours to travel to Nadi, and these are all but from Sydney because that's where I'm based. Obviously it differs from different cities in Australia. And 2025 is the perfect time to venture off and explore new parts of Asia and Australasia, as it's definitely becoming more and more popular over the years. I think to travel to Asia, the culture I think is also really different to Europe, and that's what makes it absolutely worth visiting at some point in your lifetime. Well, not your lifetime, in 2025. I mean, it has to be done, before global warming takes over and the world ends. So what are you waiting for? Like, everyone seems to be traveling to Japan at the moment. It's been on my wish list for so long, but it's not the cheapest place to be, and there's so many things I want to do. I really want to save up and do like a proper 2-week trip instead of just a little one, so I'm waiting a little bit longer. Going into Australia, you already have a layover at certain places in Asia, such as Kuala Lumpur, Singapore, and Dubai. I guess that's more in the Middle East. And I personally did Singapore on my way back from Australia at the start of the year, and Singapore is just one of the most incredible places to visit. I did 2 or 3 nights there. I think it was 3 nights maybe in Singapore, and I would 100% go back. Oh, and I can't forget New Zealand, of course. I mean, Australia is the easiest place to travel to New Zealand from. You might as well come to Australia first and then visit New Zealand from here. It's about 3 hours away, so it's quite a kind of close local holiday. It's another one I will hopefully do in the next couple of years. It's one of my not main, but it's always a key reason for coming over here, so I could travel to places like New Zealand. Number 3, health culture. Potentially, oh my god, it's my new Aussie accent coming through. Potentially, if you're in your later 20s, such as myself, a healthy start maybe could be just what you need for 2025. And Australian culture in general, from what I've seen, does seem to be more optimized towards better health. So there's a big gym culture here, and I think this comes down to people generally wearing fewer clothes. Like, you can't hide under loads and loads of layers of clothing. Sorry, the cicadas are being super noisy at the moment. They're singing so loudly. It's a hot day in Sydney. It's hot here, and that means people generally wear fewer clothing and also go to the beach a lot more. And because you're more exposed, I think there's generally a bigger focus on body image and feeling confident enough in your body that you can be happy and content on the beach without feeling really self-conscious. And I've definitely noticed this while I was here. In the cities, a lot of people are just really fit. And it's not just the gym culture. There is so much more fitness culture here, such as the run clubs. I've seen on TikTok there's a run club at, I think it's 5:30 in the morning on Bondi Beach. I haven't done it yet. Maybe I will sometime in the future. I'm not quite at that point yet. There are also so many run clubs in Sydney alone, particularly park runs, and running at 8 a.m. when like the sun is shining, it's a beautiful 20 degrees, and you're running through all this lush undergrowth that smells of eucalyptus, and people are running with their happy little dogs. It's so different to running in the UK. The one I went to this morning had over 500 people as well. And the warmer weather in Australia just generally means that it is more optimized towards healthier opportunities, particularly outdoor opportunities. There are so many national parks around Sydney alone. So let me show you on a map. So if we search national parks at the Sydney area alone, look how many there are around. And if you're central, these are all pretty much within an hour's drive. I mean, there's must be, over 10 at least alone. And to add, it's not just the warmer weather and more focus on health culture, which gives you more opportunities to be healthier here. It's the fact that unhealthy things such as cigarettes, vapes, and alcohol aren't cheap here either. So it kind of means it's easier to not buy them because they're expensive. Well, alcohol I'd say is probably around the same as it is in the UK, which isn't cheap. And vapes are actually twice the price. I don't know about cigarettes, but I'm assuming it's the same. I think due to this high price, I've seen far fewer people also vaping and smoking around, even in Newtown, which is one of the slightly more alternative areas with bigger nightlife. Number 4, if you're a big foodie, Australia is going to be the perfect place for you. And I found that the quality of food in Australia from businesses and supermarkets is just far superior to the UK in so many ways. And one of the reasons why I think the food quality just seems to be far superior here is because Australia produces most of its own food. And you know this because on most of the food you buy, it has Australian grown or made kind of proudly stamped on it. Like, it's very, very obvious that Australia is a very proud country when it comes to producing their own food, and very good at it. So looking into this a little bit more, the Australian government has their stats about the food they're importing. Australia produces much more food than it consumes, exporting around 70% of agricultural production. They do not produce everything they eat, with imports accounting for around 11% of food consumed by value. In Australia, you go to the supermarkets and there are literally multiple different varieties of mango, different varieties of bananas, even kiwis, and that is just something that's so amazing to me as someone from the UK, because we just don't have that. You buy a mango and it's going to be really expensive, really underripe, rock hard, and just tastes really meh. It's worth noting that food isn't necessarily cheaper in Australia. I think it's better quality, but it's definitely not cheaper. So if you're after cheaper food, Australia may not be the place to move to in 2025. I just wanted to mention this as well because if you are a big foodie who likes eating a lot of international cuisine, 2025 would be the perfect year for you to come to Australia because there are so many amazing places to try in the cities. I'm just speaking for Sydney, although I have travelled to other areas, but Sydney's where I know best and where I eat out the most. Particularly cities, I think, have this incredibly wide and diverse range of foods. And Sydney actually has its own Chinatown, and it's actually like a proper, like, almost suburb, but like town area of the city in CBD central region. And then we've also got a Thai town, which you don't have a Thai town in London. How cool is that? In Marrickville area, which is kind of the inner west area, it has this whole Vietnamese area where you can just get the best Vietnamese street food. It has amazing Greek communities there. All these areas of the city where I guess they have a lot of migrants from certain countries means that there is amazing hubs of food from all over the world that you can get here. And again, I'm speaking about cities. I don't know about suburbs. I think it is a little bit less diverse because there's less diverse populations, obviously, and cities can be the most diverse. And to finish on, I couldn't not mention work life. It's a pretty important part, particularly as I suspect most people will be wanting or coming over here if they can on a work visa or holiday working visa, I think they're known, which is the kind of max 3 years in Australia visa. And when it comes to work, finding full-time or part-time work on one of these visas is, I think, particularly easy for jobs in hospitality. Australia has a really good and I think far better respected hospitality industry than the UK. And in these cities, there are so many hospitality venues that there are plenty of jobs available. And as a result, the hospitality places like cafes, coffee shops, bakeries are normally filled with loads of international staff, as is what most people get when they come over here and they're looking for short-term work for a year, which they can easily do, kind of pick up and then easily leave. Speaking from experience on this, in terms of how easy it is to get. My partner, upon coming here, I think had a job secured in about 10 days. And yeah, he was applying to a lot, but it's what you have to do, you know, if you want a job as soon as possible. Well, this was actually for a manager position, but even hospitality places are willing to hire people for manager positions on working visas if your CV, I guess, fits the bill of what they're looking for. I can enjoy the aircon for a bit. I obviously can't have it on while filming, but it's like 25 degrees in here. One of my friends living a little bit south of Sydney, in Wollongong area, also has managed to pick up about 3 different jobs maybe in the last year since being here, in all sorts of coffee shops, and she actually came here with no hospitality experience. But why are these hospitality jobs so good? I mean, why does everyone get them on a working visa? To start with, if you work bank holidays or weekends, you get paid more for it. And as a result of this, the hospitality venues do charge the customer more. That's how they get the extra pay. So I went and got coffee this morning, for example, and there was 1.5 weekend surcharge on the product that I bought. And on bank holidays, you're expecting to pay a surcharge as well, and this is because this goes to the staff working. You also get paid more for overtime as well. So in Australia, if you're working, let's say, full-time at a cafe, you're expected to work about 38 hours normally on average as part of your contract. And if you work more than those 38 hours, you'll get paid more per hour for your overtime. And this can also be around 1.5 times for the first couple of hours. And after this, it can even be up to 2 times. So employers are really motivated to keep your hours about 38 a week and not put you on for 40 plus hour weeks, which I have definitely done when working in hospitality in the UK. So it's good that they are incentivized to respect the amount of hours they're giving you, respect your time, and if you do want to work more and they're willing to do that, you can make bank and even earn more for it, which I think is just amazing. And while talking about wages, the minimum wage for Australia is higher than the UK as well. For New South Wales, it is $24.10, which equates to, using the current exchange rate, £12.05 an hour. Whereas in the UK, for the highest bracket, these both are, by the way, it is £11.44 per hour. And as if this couldn't get any better for the casual worker looking to spend a year or so over here, hospitality places close way earlier here than they do in the UK. I'm talking like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, nowhere near the 6 p.m. closing time that the UK ones have. So it means you can work during the morning, finish around 2, 3, and you've got the rest of your day to spend either, going to the beach, traveling around, going on an adventure, exploring, whatever you'd like to do while you are out here. While talking about jobs, I do just want to add on that I'm purely talking about the kind of casual, chilled work that people on a holiday visa coming to Australia in 2025 might want to get. This doesn't apply to corporate jobs. I don't know much about getting corporate jobs on a working visa here if you're coming from the UK, as I don't have any personal knowledge on it, so I'm not going to pretend to. Alright, that is the end of 5 reasons why you need to move to Australia in 2025. Do it. Book your flights, get your visa, come over here. I promise you won't regret it. If you have any questions about moving to Australia, I'd be super happy to help. Pop them in the comment section below and I'll add my reply in. For my next video, I'm going to be discussing 5 reasons why you should not move to Australia in 2025. So if you're intrigued about hearing those, make sure to subscribe so you get notified when I post that video. Thank you as always for watching and for all the support. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and hopefully I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.